We're going to start with the candidates. And we have a number of people who are running for the Aurora City Council. And I'm going to ask each person who speaks to speak for no more than 2 minutes.
Make it quick. Name. Donate. Thank you.
And you'll be timed. Yeah. Okay. And we're going to start with Ward 6. Brian Matise.
Thank you, Everett. I'm Brian Matise. I'm running for Ward 6. Ward 6, for those of you that aren't familiar, is in southeast Aurora, past southeast of Centennial, that little island area down there toward the Aurora Reservoir. I'm running for City Council because I'm disappointed that Aurora has lost its vision. It's not looking for the long-term benefits of the people, it's just looking for short-term developer benefits. We are still a bedroom community of Denver, and whenever a developer comes in wanting to put in more housing that's not affordable, they always approve it. In the meantime, citizens have more and more traffic issues, we have more and more Metro District taxes, and we have less and less accountability from our City Council. I'm going to change that. We're gonna have citizen accountability and vote for me if you live in Ward 6. If not, help me out with my campaign, which I'm going to be getting started on very, very shortly. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Okay. Now we're going to go down to Ward 5. And Chris Rhodes is running for Ward 5.
Thank you, Everett. I've been told I don't talk loud enough, so if anybody can't hear me, just let me know. Yeah, my name is Chris Rhodes. I'm running for Ward 5, City Council in Aurora. Allison Coombs won that seat 4 years ago, and she's now running for at-large, so my biggest concern is just not losing something that we've already won. But as everybody in this room, I'm pretty sure knows, Aurora is a blue city that has all of our congressional reps are blue, our state reps are blue, our governor's blue, but for some reason we have a red city council, and that's leading to a lot of the problems that Brian had mentioned earlier. You know, the thing that's motivated me to run for city council has been, what brought me to Aurora was doing union organizing out of DIA for largely immigrant workers at United Airlines. And after doing that for 4 years and seeing how people in the city have to live that are in the working class, I decided to do community organizing around economic justice issues, which is how I met Everett with Colorado People's Alliance. And you know, I got tired of asking people to do the right thing, and there was an opportunity to step up and try and put myself in a position to where I can do the right thing for people. And I'm stepping up and trying to do that. So it's very frightening. I've never done anything like this before. I have 0 people in my family that have ever done anything like this, and my dad kind of laughed when I told him I was doing this. So, but yeah, I'm running for Ward 5. If anybody's in Ward 5, I would love to meet up with you sometime and see about helping with my campaign. You can vote for me. And if anybody would like to donate or check my website out, it's rhodesforaurora.com.
Okay, Chris. And Chris, I would say to keep coming back and practice. Okay, and running for the at-large position is a friend of mine, a Dr. Pastor Thomas Mays.
Well, greetings. I've never been accused of not talking loud enough. To Chris, just don't worry about it. Don't fear it. No fear. No fear. They'll be gentle. I'm glad to be here tonight. I'm running for at-large for the City Council. And I was ready to retire and just sit on the sidelines, but as I've seen our city continue to go downhill with our city council as it is, I says, I'm sorry, I can't give up yet. I've got children, I have 3 children and 8 grandchildren, all live in the city of Aurora. I've been here forever. My wife is retired from Kaiser after 40 years. We're in a position where we've got to bring about change, and it's got to be positive change. So I want to bring accountability back to our city council, and accountability without consequence is not accountability at all. So I want to make sure that we don't lose at peace what we won at war. And we had to fight to get our rights. And I want to make sure that we not only maintain those rights, but we increase the rights for all of the people living in our city. And in this area, especially in the area of my church, my church is in Ward 1, right on the corridor of Colfax. A lot of homeless people, a lot of helpless people, and we need to address that. We cannot throw them away. So those are just some of my concerns, but I appreciate the opportunity to even speak to you, but I need your support. I can't do it by myself. I need your support 100%. We've got to take the council back. We've got to take our government back. So thank you.
And Pastor May said we've got to take the council back. And is there anyone here that doesn't feel that this is a true statement? Oh, okay. We're going to move to some people who are already in office, and we're going to start with our brand new county commissioner. Where is she? Leslie Summey.
It's not even going to be 2 minutes. It's going to be really, really fast. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm Leslie Summey, your Arapahoe County Commissioner for District 4. What is going on in the county? Your county commissioners are going to be leaving on Friday. We're going to Washington, D.C. for the National Association of Counties conference, and we're going to be speaking with our legislators and hanging out there and making change for the county. We've been down at the Capitol, our Capitol, a couple of times advocating for our districts and for all of the things that we need in the county. And what else is going on? We have been really onboarding and getting to know all of the agencies of the county and how everything is interconnected. And boy, oh boy, it's a lot. So I have left what is this thing called? What is that? I have left our 2023 Legislative Issues Guide. Yes, I have just a few of them. If you would like to have one, they are up on the table. And if you need one and I am not here, just email me at lsummey@arapahogov.com and we will get you one. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. And we're going to skip back to the candidates. And as everybody knows, JD18 will be reconfigured in 2024. And the candidate to be the district attorney for JD18 is here with us, Amy Padden.
Hi, great to see everyone. Yes, 2024 is going to be an exciting time for Arapahoe County because we are going to have our own district attorney. And if we had our own district attorney right now, I would be our district attorney. I won Arapahoe County by 15 points, and we got stuck with our current district attorney just because of those other 3 counties, Douglas, Lincoln, and Elbert County. So this is going to be our opportunity to take this seat back. We haven't had this seat in decades, and we're going to really bring some true criminal justice reform to Arapahoe County. We're going to enhance community safety, and we're going to make Arapahoe County the place that we want it to be, the place where we want to live, and a place where we can be proud about community safety and criminal justice reform in our county. So I'm really excited about it. The election's not till 2024, so we're going to flip the city council first. We're going to flip the mayor's seat. And then I'm gonna be calling y'all up to knock doors for me, and many of you did last time around in 2024, because we're gonna win this seat back. So I'm really excited. You can read more about me and support me if you want at amypadden.com. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Amy. And we have a candidate for at-large for the Aurora City Council. His name is Curtis Powell. Curtis?
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet everyone. My name is Curtis Powell. I'm a registered nurse by profession. I've lived in Denver for about 25 years and in the Aurora area for about 15 years. And I know it's a surprise to everyone. Who is this guy? Out of nowhere. Also, I own a business. I work in clinical research. And I've, love the people of Aurora. Like to see a lot of new things happening here. Some breath of fresh air. Like to bring to this opportunity. So thank you for this time, and I look forward to seeing your future. In the event that you'd like to support my campaign, it's Curtis Powell's, and you'll be getting more information shortly. Thank you.
Thank you, Curtis. And now for our main speaker. Our main speaker is the chair of the Colorado Democratic Party, and someone I've known for a long time, and someone who actually introduced me to politics. Oh my God. And the person I'm talking about is Morgan Carroll.
Thank you, Everett. Hi, everybody. How are you doing? Thank you. I'm just kind of losing an extra jacket here. So, Everett said maybe a little something different for tonight and something a bit more personal. So the usual remarks you might expect to hear from the chair about what we've done and the fact that we need to win the majority on everything and school board, I think we know is a given with this group. And I just thought that what I would do is share a little bit of, we all have a different path into leadership, a different why of what gets us going. And so kind of giving some of that experience, just sharing with you guys tonight. So, how many of you guys know or are pretty close to other redheads in your family? So I think when you have red hair, you grow up figuring out how to deal with bullies. Yes, you do. You do. And I had to figure this out really early. And then I just developed a distaste for anyone that was essentially a bully for anybody. And really from preschool to kindergarten all the way through, honestly, like for those of you that have ever dealt with a bully, like you basically have to figure out how to pop a bully back. Yep. And so this is probably not a proud moment, but it really frankly taught me how to literally fight for myself physically and in other ways and for other people. And I'll tell you, there was nothing that made the bullying stop faster than, they really have, they are a party of bullies for what's there. I had an amazing experience growing up that I just think has shaped my world, and that was my parents both loved travel, and they were willing to take me anywhere and everywhere. Like from the time I was 4, I was in Mexico, and they took me to the former Soviet Union back in 1982. My mom speaks Russian, and a lot of people during communist Soviet Union were afraid we'd never come back, and my mom was working on Boulder Action for Soviet Jewry for people who were getting disappeared or persecuted for being Jewish in that part of the world. And it was the opposite of being sheltered. They wanted me to see everything and be exposed to absolutely everything that was out there. So what I saw was my parents dodging a KGB tail when I was maybe 11, visiting the synagogue in Moscow, trying to surreptitiously make connections so that we could get refuseniks pulled out through our congressional delegation in Boulder, and celebrated bringing families into Boulder, families we're still in touch with this day, pulling people out of a situation of religious persecution. So it was a different kind of upbringing like that. And another travel thing that just changes your mind forever. If you know, for anyone who thinks they're not sure if it affects kids, these things stay with me forever. In about 1981, I'm going to date myself a few times on this, but the first time I had been to Israel, we also attached Egypt at the time, and they had just gone through the peace accords in Israel. And I had heard all about Egypt, and I wanted to see the Sphinx, and I wanted to see the Nile, and we were on our way. So at this point I was 11, and we were going to go to the Nile. And I had this picture of what the Nile was going to be like. So I went to the Nile, and it was brown, and it had kids that were being basically, I mean, it took me a while to really realize what was going on. But there is an orphan slave trade that is happening at this point in time in Egypt with kids that were my same age. And a young girl approached me, young girl, but she was my same age at that point in time, had eye infection, had malnutrition, bloat that was going on, and these kids were supposed to sell tchotchkes and stuff to tourists, or like they just didn't eat. And this seems like a strange thing for an 11-year-old to realize, but what was really obvious at this point in time is a society that does not have publicly supported orphanages, foster care system, adoption, protections against child trafficking and human trafficking. When you have poverty and no social infrastructure and no social safety net, you have child slavery. And our two lives could not have been more different. I grew up in Boulder. I never missed a meal. You know, I had a great education, and this was not unique to what this one girl's experience was. This is what goes on around the world. So when Republicans would say things like, oh, handouts, or, you know, government's the problem, the alternative is essentially exploitation and trafficking of other human beings, because poverty will solve itself in ways where people get trafficked. And they don't want to really talk about what happens on the other side of that. That was formative for me. Like, I didn't know what I was going to do about it, but it really, I mean, you know, it changed me forever about what kind of society do we really want to live in and how fragile that is. If you take away a pro-social safety net and concern about people who are economically without, our entire society basically, you know, collapses. So in the vein of like not sheltering from anything, both my parents were trial attorneys. Different experience for me was my dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's when I was 2, very aggressive early onset Parkinson's. So he was both advocating for other people, and I grew up around their law firm, but I was also watching the ravages of what Parkinson's was doing to him, and that insurance wouldn't cover things because everything was experimental. What I saw was that he worked his entire life, and when it came time to retirement, you know, the Medicaid spend down meant that he had to take what little was left of his savings for medical stuff, and was forced into, you know, senior citizen poverty before he could get the 24-hour support he needed for pretty advanced dementia and Alzheimer's towards the end of his life. For any of our citizens to be in a situation where you're even insured and you can't get health care, and you're saving and you can't keep your savings, and you work your life doing advocacy work for other people, and in the end you are forced into spending into poverty like every other citizen is doing, it's almost inevitable that you're going to see stuff like that and just be like, this is wrong, and you can't help but ask the question, like, what can we do about this? No one should have to be facing this. So this has worked, and it violates child labor laws, but my parents had me at their law office from the time I was 5. And I was raised to think lawyers were heroes. Because in our household, it was Abraham Lincoln, it was Mahatma Gandhi, it was Clarence Darrow, it was every civil rights victory that we had gained legislatively and in the courts. And so I thought lawyers were heroes. And I would show up to their office, and a lot of it was based on disability advocacy back then too. But my heart was really with workers. We did a lot in the area of workplace injury and workers' comp. And so from my whole time growing up, because again, they didn't really believe in sheltering anything, we were always hearing about the fact patterns of what different workers were facing in different parts of the state. And so I was raised hearing about the assembly lines at the meat packing plants. And I'll save you the rest of the story because we're in a restaurant. But really appalling, horrible, life-changing, nearly fatal, and sometimes fatal accidents happening with workers, and the push to take off safety equipment, to do things, to speed it up, to maximize profits, and that workers were somehow dispensable in this, and just meeting so many people's lives who've been forever really ruined by a push for profit at the expense of like a disposable human being. So when I go into my own work for, like, I did not go to college right away. I was like honor student and then fell off the wagon and almost didn't graduate high school. And my dad was seriously sick at this point, and I was working 2-3 jobs, Blockbuster Video, Amico, and that the retail experience I had really changed me forever. When I was working Amico, I was making $990 a month. I was literally clocking 90 hours a week. They were gaming it so I didn't get overtime. We had no insurance. We had no paid sick leave. And I wound up hospitalized over untreated strep. There was no time off. And so that, plus needing to take on 1 and 2 other jobs with that, and realizing that Blockbuster Video, I can speak ill of them a little bit now because they're gone, but like, besides being a right-wing Christian-owned company, and they were like censoring what movies they thought people were supposed to have, and it was very gendered and very strange and selective, but like Blockbuster Video would force employees off the clock to do inventory work so it wouldn't count against the books. And I just wanted to be a hardworking employee and show up. And it really dawned on me later that, like, wait, this is really messed up. This is really messed up. This should not be happening. So a lot of the experiences in my own workplace and encountering workers who were so seriously maimed and disfigured and made sick and killed, and radiation poisoning and all the things that happen in unsafe workplaces really put the policy piece in my heart. But I never thought that I was going to be in any elected position. I had hoped to be a lawyer someday with my mom, and while that dream was deferred, it took me a long time to get to college. I didn't go to law school right away. I was working through undergrad, I was working through law school, and had some time off in between. But I did get to realize that dream of being a law partner with my mom. We were the first mother-daughter law firm that I ever really encountered. And we had the best gig. We took all the cases we believed in. If we liked the client, if we wanted to do something, we just did it. We had the freedom of a 2-person firm to kind of pursue what we wanted. But by then I'd lived a lot of life. I certainly was never a candidate for sainthood. And so I admired public office. I wished I could kind of change a lot, actually. But I'm like, okay, somebody else, I'd been divorced, and at that time that was scandalous, and I wasn't Christian, and I'm like, oh, that's like an electoral problem. And so I will help support other people who are gonna go into office. So then I'll leave it with this, because I know we've got a full program in the State of the Union that's gonna start. But the very beginning of moving back into politics was actually a fight I had with the boyfriend I was dating at the time. It's just such a weird story. So I was dating this guy. We had a mortgage together. We were in an arm and one of these upside down, terrible, terrible, terrible mortgages, and had gotten into this and had a living situation that really assumed 2 people that were in the mortgage or whatever. So I'm dating this guy, get in a fight. This was a short-term relationship that really was never meant to be. And he just went crazy every time I go someplace and was whiny, and why do you have to go? And come with me. Oh, I don't want to go, but I don't want you to go. So I just had one of these I've had it moments, and there was an invitation sitting on my kitchen island, and it was an invitation to a Dave Thomas fundraiser. Do any of you guys remember Dave Thomas? So he was our Democratic candidate for CD7 back when that was the competitive seat that we had to flip, and I knew nobody. I had done nothing in the county party. I didn't know anyone in the county party, and I didn't know anyone there. I didn't know the Wettigs. That was who the state rep was at the time. So this was at Frank and Pat's house. And you guys here, everyone's had that moment where you've walked into a room of complete strangers and you just don't know anybody, and every normal person feels a little weird in that. I knew nobody. And then somehow I was like, I'm just gonna do this. So it was Pat Wettig who answers the door. And I just said, hi, I got this. Am I in the right place? She's like, yeah. We hit it off, we started talking. And in about 5 minutes, she said, you know, you'd make a better candidate than the person we've got right now. Have you ever thought about running for office? And I was like, well, God, it's been a while. Yeah, but maybe someday that would be fantastic. I didn't even know who the person was that they were. I was feeling really flattered by this. I was like, yeah, wow, that would be amazing. Like maybe someday. Already made my day. I go in, I meet Carolyn Bowler for the first time, and Pat's like, yeah, you need to talk to Carolyn Bowler. And I thought she was yelling at me, but she was really helping me. She's introducing me to like all these other people, and then I meet Frank, who's the representative at the time. And he had not talked about it yet, and he said, you know, you'd make a better candidate than the person. He said, now, have you ever thought about running for office? And I was like, that's so weird. Your wife just said the same thing. So I loved that, and it was a volunteer opportunity. He said, I'm gonna run for county commissioner. Do you wanna be on my steering committee? And I was like, whoa, really? Like, can I be, like, this was like really impressive to me. So steering committee meant that I went back over to Frank and Pat's. We were stuffing envelopes for his committee, and I had really never done anything like that. And Pat says to me, this guy's thinking about dropping out. And I thought they saw something incredibly magical in me, but it turns out that guy had raised no money and had no volunteers and hadn't done anything. So compared to that, I think, you know, probably all of us look like really good kids. But I didn't know that. So I was like, really? So I picked up the phone and talked to my mom right then and there, because we're law partners, and she was gonna retire, and I was gonna take over her trial practice, and this would completely screw up her retirement, and I kind of needed to doctor her to see what she thought about this. And in that day, in that living room, on something unplanned, my finances were a mess. I was $70,000 in student loan. I had since broken up with the boyfriend where we couldn't figure out how to handle events together. And within 72 hours, like, he had dropped. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. They helped me figure out how to file, helped me get in. At the time, that version of House District 36 was a Republican-leaning seat. It was a 48 DPI seat. So all else being equal, it's a seat we would have lost. And Frank had just done the work to kind of persuade it over time. So with less time than needed for a competitive race, in July, from July to November, you know, come out with 55% of the vote. I canvassed the crap out of that district. I had no idea what I was gonna do, and I really didn't know if I was gonna win or lose on election day. But leadership, to me, some of that was being in the right place at the right time, and some of it was just having eyes open for an opportunity. Like, yeah, I still felt the oh goody in my heart, like maybe I could actually make policy for 5 million people. Like, who wouldn't want to do that? Like, this sounds like the best job ever. And it meant putting the career aside and putting myself out there and wondering if I was gonna get attacked, and it's sort of a little bit of risk. And fast forward, the other leadership stuff has kind of come with sort of strange other ways. Once you're in elected office, so becoming like Senate president or majority leader, this is very internal stuff to how the caucus goes. And so basically I had spent my time helping colleagues on every issue they had that I cared about, didn't take the title. And that was sort of the other lesson I learned. Do the work, the title can follow later. And so the work I was doing was helping other people with their bills, was helping other people with their elections. When I was in the House, I became our caucus chair. basically because somebody stepped down, which is kind of how I got into the House. And I was just like there to raise my hand. And then caucus chair lets you set the agenda. And when I went over to the Senate, that was earlier than planned. Because without any title, I had done the majority work for the Senate Democrats. Again, the work first, who cares about the title? We had done really well in that election cycle. 2010, we were the only swing legislative chamber in the country that held for Democrats. So my caucus nominated me, I didn't, for majority leader. And then we went through all the recalls and president. And so even in law school, like it's sort of a titled history, but always by kind of fluke, really. The reason I wound up being president of our law school class is because of Tabor. Because they didn't have enough money to pay for a publicly funded graduation anymore for the law school. And so the class president had to raise $80,000 to pay for our own graduation. And no one else was dumb enough. And I was asked like 3 times, like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, someone else will do this. And I'm like, Morgan, please, no one else is willing to do this. I'm like, okay. So sometimes it's just about being the dumbest person in the room. It's like, all right, somebody's got to do this, I'll step in and do this. So there's all these different paths, and I've had great opportunities, and we've had some really hard setbacks, but I think all of us lead from different places. Some front and side and with and without title. And I'm kind of in one of those places now where I honestly really don't know what's happening next. But up until this point on the state party, and I'll end on that, I never thought I was going to be state party chair. Wasn't really a super party person. I mean, I always had our values. But after Trump won, and after the Republicans controlled Congress, and the writing was on the wall about the Supreme Court, there is nothing that could have been clearer to me about how existentially terrifying this moment was. And sometimes when you guys have the conversations you do about, hey, run, think about this, well, this is where it matters, because it was actually Karen Middleton who called. And she said, have you ever thought about running for state party chair? And I'm like, nope. And she said, well, you were endorsed both by Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. We're in a very divided state, and the party's gonna have to heal and find a way to move forward. And again, within 72 hours, I was like, yeah, I'm in. Because as much as I would have loved to have won in 2016, we now have Jason Crow. And instead of winning one seat, we can win all of them, like we did in 22. So I think just life doesn't always work out the way we plan, but I thought I'd give a little bit of the backdrop on just some interesting things to me that have stuck with me and formed, and some of the flukes that happen to give us the opportunities we have when we do are not always foreseeable, but have been nonetheless just absolutely incredible. And I know we all have things like that put us on a certain path at a certain time. But that's the background I thought I'd share, Everett.
I would say to Morgan Carroll, it's good to know that our state party chair is a real person. Juan Marcano just walked in, and Juan Marcano is running for the mayor of Aurora.
Can y'all hear me? All right, everybody, how are we doing tonight? Are we excited to see the State of the Union?
No.
Okay, well, are you excited to see me at least?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, John. I apologize for being late. I had a flat tire, so I had to take care of that emergency, but made it here as quick as I could. My name is Juan Marcano. For those of you who do not know me, I currently have the honor and pleasure of representing Ward 4, which we are currently in. And I am also running to be your next mayor here in the great city of Aurora, Colorado. So, folks, I want to say we're off to a great start. We've exceeded our first month financing goals in about, what was it, Brittany, 16 days? Give or take, but we got a long way to go. I'm going to skip right to it. We need to raise $250,000 to be competitive. And this is something Morgan knows very well who we're up against. Jason Crow knows very well who we're up against. This is not going to be an easy race. And I'm really excited to point out that I actually have my slate mates here with us tonight. So Very, very excited to see them here, and I hope that you're getting to know them a little bit. But it's going to take all of us, all of our time, our talent, and our treasure to finally flip the Aurora City Council and deliver a Democratic majority. Because I want y'all to stop and think about who we have representing us at the state legislature. Right here where we're standing, this is Iman Judah's district. She's a dear friend and an incredible representative for our community. A little further to the south, that's Naquita Ricks' district. She's a champion for working people. She helped pass some historic reforms that are going to help us crack down on the predatory towing industry. A little bit to the north, we have Rep. Mandy Lindsay, who is a housing advocate and a progressive champion who's going to help us tackle the issues around affordable housing and homelessness in the city of Aurora. And a little further to the east and now north, we have Representative Mike Weissman, who is, frankly, I've said this to y'all when I ran in 2019, I want to grow up to be Mike Weissman for this city. So we have great, great folks, and I don't want to discount Senator Fields and Senator Buckner as well, and I don't want to, I know I'm on a time limit here, but we have really high quality folks who represent Aurora at the state level. We already know we have Jason Crow at the federal level, and this is a blue state, y'all. We've got Senator Hickenlooper, Senator Bennett, and Aurora goes overwhelmingly blue for them. But we have this one little red spot, and that's in our city hall. And folks, I was sick yesterday, so I apologize I wasn't able to make our study session, but I did watch the replay. And we have people who are advocating for sending kids to jail on our city council right now. And I cannot take, no, I'm serious. They want to actually increase the number of juvenile detention beds at the state level. This is the kind of things that my council is doing. I cannot think of another way to say we give up on the future. We give up on society. Let's just lay down and rot. Then just say, you know what, we need to send more of our young people to jail. This is the county and the city that overwhelmingly voted against opening a new jail at Arapahoe County. Y'all remember that failed 3-1. Because instead we were saying, hey, what about investing in our community for a change? What about addressing the root causes? Sorry, Everett, one sec. And that's what we can do with a Democratic majority and the Aurora City Council. So I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I think the president's coming out. But my name is Juan Marcano. I'm running to be your next mayor. I would love your support. For all of y'all who have not yet, if you could please go to marcanoforoaurora.com. The way that we're going to win this is by getting small donations with monthly, small monthly donations to hit our goals. So you can go to marcanoforoaurora.com. What I'm asking for everybody in this room is if you can do $50 a month ongoing, that would be huge to get us to where we need to go. If you don't have a computer or anything like that handy, we do have a QR code here that you can scan as well. That'll take you right to the site. So thank you all so much, and I'll stick around to answer any questions y'all might have after the State of the Union.